Hi there. So before I start getting into the movie that I chose, as well as the social psychology concept that it shows as well, I need you to think back to high school, or even now, what kind of groups you're a part of nowadays, and what ideas and actions do these groups show and allow you to understand to become part of it and socially accepted into that group. So, if you were in high school, maybe you were a cheerleader, what kind of actions did you need to show, or what kind of way did you need to talk? And, what kind of way did this need to be for jocks or nerds or whatever kind of typical stereotypes that were shown in high school? Even if you weren't part of these groups, what did you think of them and how they acted? And if you were to become a part of those groups, what did you think you needed to change about yourself? Typically, when we become a part of a group, it's not necessarily that believe the way that they do about how they act. It's that we start to conform to their ways, sometimes without even thinking it. So the movie that I chose is Mean Girls. This is a very popular film. I watched it when I was in high school, and basically it shows a girl conforming into these groups. And what happens is she is homeschooled, and she's homeschooled until high school, but then she's put into a social situation that she's not used to. She's put into high school, and obviously you can kind of understand that that's new to her, and she doesn't understand that some things are not socially accepted. So the first thing that happened that kind of made me think that this was showing conformity was when she entered high school, she was a huge math person. So she thought, I'm going to join the mathletes. But then the people that she became friends with told her that's social suicide. Before she entered high school, she didn't think that being smart and being really good at math made her not socially accepted. So that was the first thing is, you enter school and it's not socially accepted to be smart sometimes. So she didn't join the mathletes, but she became friends with these people. Now, you see her go to lunch, and the mean girls, as they're put, they start to try to get her to sit with them. Now, she sits with them. She doesn't understand that they're a group that are mean, and she doesn't understand why she's not really that her friends don't want her to sit with them. So she goes back to her friends, and they're like, why were you sitting with these people? And they come up with the idea of sabotaging the mean girls. So what happens is she starts talking to them and sitting with them at lunch. And one of the things that happens is they say, on Wednesdays we wear pink, which is kind of nowadays a joke. But if you think about it in the concepts of social psychology, that was kind of her way of conforming to the group to start, because then she started wearing pink on Wednesdays. To follow, another thing that happened was, her friend and her would joke about what these girls said and, what they did. But then she started acting like them. And it wasn't that she necessarily wanted to be like them and that she believed that how they acted was okay. It's that she's just started conforming to them because she started being a part of this group without really realizing she was a part of it. She was just doing it as a joke at first. So there's a scene where her and her friend are in a store, and she is talking to her friend, but she's talking differently. And, she's like, oh my gosh, just talking like these girls talk without really thinking about it. So then she's like putting on makeup, she's wearing the clothes that they wear, she's conforming to the image without really realizing it. And she's with the other friend now, so she doesn't necessarily have to be a part of that image anymore. It's just she's subconsciously not realizing that she's doing it. And her friend goes, why are you wearing that? Why are you acting like that? And she goes, oh, I don't know. She doesn't really understand that she's doing it. It's just now she's so used to being a part of that group. The other part of this movie that made me realize that, she didn't understand that she was conforming to this was her friend addressed her, yelling at her that she was becoming a mean girl. And that was kind of her moment of understanding that even though she didn't need to, she was becoming like these girls in her actions, in how she spoke, in everything basically that they were. So conformity is becoming a part of a group without really, it's not necessarily what you believe, but to be socially accepted into that group, you have to act the way they act, you have to talk the way they talk, and it just, you have to conform to their ways. So conformity in social psychology has always been studied to kind of understand why people act differently, because you could be out of that group and not act the same way. She didn't do that. She was acting the way they did. But you could be, say you're with family and you act a certain way, but then you go and you do some kind of hobby and you're talking a different way because your friends in that group talk a different way. So conformity, it bases off of groups. So you could be a part of one group and a part of another group and act completely different in both of these ways. So she didn't do that in the movie, but she started conforming to the actions of these girls without realizing it. And at the end of the movie, she starts to realize, she doesn't want to be a part of this anymore. And she starts becoming herself again, starts finding her friends, the real people that she wants to be a part of. Because when you start becoming a part of these groups, you don't really realize that you're doing what they need you to do to be socially accepted into their group. So conformity is basically that. It's just being socially accepted into a group that you want to be a part of. And even if you don't want to be a part of it, subconsciously most of the time people just want to be socially accepted, even if they don't believe that that group does the right things or acts the right ways. So that was it. Mean Girls and Conformity. It's just basically high school stereotypes and what it means to conform to them. So thank you for watching. Bye.